to 11 a.m. Eastern. Tell the quad, pack your Speedos, and belly up to the Tiki Bar. That's Andy's Hot Gay Summer. 10 a.m. Eastern, all week long. Only on Radio Andy, Sirius XM 102.
You'll burn in the sun, but the shade might be worse. John Hill, take off your shirt.
This is Andy Cohen Live's Hot Gay Summer.
From the second you touched me, I was ready to die. I've never been fatal, you're my first time. I feel like an angel who just started to fly.
I mean, it's kind of hard to butt into Whitney Houston. Sorry, I kind of spaced on Whitney's name.
Who is that great singer?
But, yeah,
That genius.
who is
Sounds
that?
pretty.
She is, Sarah Paulson is Whitney-like in her accolades and talent. She is nominated for an Emmy for Impeachment, American Crime Story. Oh, man, you were so good in this, Sarah. Unbelievable. And isn't that what you say you were surprised to be nominated? Why? I wasn't.
Well, you weren't nominated, Andy.
Well, no, I wasn't. I'm never nominated, and I never will be.
You should be. You should be nominated for everything since you provide me with hours and hours and hours of television that I just can't get enough of.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was surprised just because, the show was critically sort of all over the map. And so sometimes that doesn't always lead to the road of being, the end point of being nominated for something. So,
the thing that I love about watching you is you truly inhabit every role you take. And you also, your commitment to them is so deep that we were just talking about Jesse Williams about this. I said, oh, you play a villain in this thing. And he said, well, when people who play villains never like to think of them as villains because the backstory and their motivation. And you certainly made me think of Linda Tripp in a way that I absolutely never had. And she became misunderstood as I watched you. I think she was misunderstood. And I think what I got from it was that she had actually a deep love of her country and she felt screwed by the government. Would you say that's correct?
I think that's absolutely correct. I think, this is a woman who was a public servant for many, many years, who sort of was constantly cast aside for someone often more attractive, conventionally more attractive, someone, less experienced. And I think it really frustrated her. But more than anything, I think she found Bill Clinton's behavior to be a terrible abuse of power. And it really, really upset her. If you watch the show around episode, I think it's 9 or 10, Linda tells a story about her father leaving the family and having an affair, and that basically everyone in the community and everyone in his workplace forgave him. And he just went on with his life, where her mother was destroyed and the family was destroyed. And, just the power that men have in those environments to just sort of get away with things if they're likable. And I think that was a really, really hard pill for her to swallow. Listen, you're in the film, or you're in the series with our girl Beanie. I mean, we've been talking a lot about it. I think Beanie got really screwed by the producers of Funny Girl. Do you have any thoughts on that situation? The only thoughts I have are that I saw it twice and I thought that Beanie was remarkable. I thought she was remarkable. She was extraordinary on opening night. I went again in June, right after she had COVID. I went to see her first performance back after she hadn't been on that stage for over 10 days and hadn't been singing or anything. And she just blew my mind and was even better. And I've said this before and maybe even to you, but I think she's one of the great new young performers. She's so young. Sometimes I just look at that little face and I'm just like, just this little baby Beanie. But she's a real I suspect we have not seen the last of her by a great long shot. She's an extraordinary talent and an even better person, if such a thing is possible.
There was a Page Six article last month saying that you were at San Vicente Bungalows with Monica Lewinsky, who was one of the consultants and producers on Impeachment: American Crime Story, and that Britney Spears walked in and that she that everybody in the place stood still. San Vicente Bungalows is a private members club in LA, and there's a lot of stars there. And so for a star to walk in and make the whole place kind of quiet down means that it's a significant moment. Was that true? Did you see Britney? What can you tell us?
I can tell you that I definitely saw her, and it was, for me, a pretty exciting LA moment, having living here for so long and seeing, Britney Spears, I don't think of her as being out in the world very often.
Right.
So this was really like seeing a magical unicorn walk into the room. So it was really wild. But you know how we all sort of pretend like nothing's happening. But this was one of those things where I feel like the whole place just kind of, there was just like a tiny little din to the room.
Well, you know what's funny? Because in a place like San Vicente Bungalows or in a place like LA, as you point out, it takes a lot to get someone to, and the person either needs to be kind of Jeff Bezos, who's the richest or second richest guy, or, but someone else, by the way, who I've had meals with and I've been around in public with, who always stops a room, people are shocked to see her, is Monica.
Yes, I think that's true too. Absolutely.
Because she was so notorious. I mean, she is arguably one of the most famous people in the world.
Inarguably. I mean,
yes,
I think it's, right. she's a real, immediately, she has this smile and that beautiful hair that's just outrageous and that nobody really deserves to have. But yeah, she really, and she's very disarming because she's so friendly and smart and bubbly and beautiful. And I think given how maligned she was during that time, I think people are always a little bit disarmed by that. But she's another very great person.
Are you watching Beverly Hills Housewives?
Andy, that's like asking me if I'm drinking water and trying to get some good sleep. Yes, I'm watching Beverly Hills. I'm watching Dubai, which I'm also obsessed with.
Oh, good. Okay, well, I want to go around the bend here. Let's start with Dubai. The Caroline Stanbury. I think that Dubai was a series that, as it went on, as they all do, you really start to understand people more. I think the Stanbury thing is very interesting because there's a Madonna song called "Unapologetic Bitch," and I think that Stanbury is kind of an unapologetic bitch, and you understand why when you look at her upbringing as she describes it. What is your take on Stanbury versus Ayan?
Well, I have a real love affair with Ayan. I think that she is, when you talk about just entertaining, just an absolute superstar has landed on the reality planet. I mean, she is really, I don't know, I find her to be magnificent. I could watch a whole show about her. That's my pitch. That's what I'm saying. But Caroline Stanbury, I hear you, and I do, every time you see you guys cut to a little picture of her with like pigtails at school, sort of by herself. And it does a lot to sort of make you sort of realize this is and she even says it in a very sort of self-aware way that like, this just how she was raised. And it's sort of how she just became who she is. And so I feel like it's really important in life to not be an apologist about who you are. Mm-hmm. So I think it's kind of rad how she is. I don't know that I want to have dinner with her the way I do with Chanel Ayan, right. But I really, I get her. And yeah.
Chanel Ayan is an interesting, it's almost like she was created in a housewife factory.
That's correct.
Yeah, I mean, like I just, I find her staggering.
She's just delicious in every sense of the word. I'm just like grinning from ear to ear when I'm watching.
What are you? And by the way, a huge personal story will be revealed regarding Ayan. That is like nothing I've ever seen before on a Housewives show. and it's really going to touch you in a significant way. So there you go.
Thanks for that. Thanks for me to look forward to that. I'm excited.
That's a tease. Also want to talk about Beverly Hills, where now we've seen a different side of Erica this time. Where are you at with Erica this season?
I'm worried about her a little bit. At the same time, I sort of feel Kyle's point of Erica, having been through so much, and everybody processes that kind of trauma or, things that we can't even really imagine in terms of going through something on a public scale, like she has. But, I always have liked Erica. I don't know if that's a controversial thing to say, but I do. I think she's been through a lot. I don't know. I worry about her. I worry about the drinking and stuff. But at the same time, I'm kind of like, how many days a week do you guys film? Is that like a daily thing? Or is this just like, you're gathered together with people? It doesn't necessarily mean that that's what she's doing every waking moment of her life, So
I think she's an interesting character because we saw her being one way for so many years. Yeah. Not unlike the Luann arc. I mean, Luann you saw behaving in a certain way for years, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, wait a minute, the armor is coming off, and we're now revealing someone totally different. And are you watching Atlanta?
I haven't watched Atlanta. I'm not Atlanta.
Were you never in Atlanta?
I think Atlanta, when it came on, it was in the middle of like a particular heavy workload for me, and there was just no time, so I was staying with the cycle of the things. But I did watch Girls Trip, a Dorinda Girls Trip,
and
I mean, just give me more of it.
Yes.
I just was I thought it was over too soon, was my opinion, and I needed more. And
now you're a big Dorinda fan, have been forever. What was your take on Dorinda? People have a lot of opinions about her on Girls Trip. I think you do have to take into account that all these people were at her home, which added an entirely different level of stress to what she was doing on that show. She was arguably not on vacation.
Correct.
So where were you at with that?
I think what I felt the most acutely about Dorinda on the Girls Trip show was that she seemed sad to me. She seemed kind of lonely and sad. That's really what I felt. And I felt like when you have an attachment to, Dorinda has always been that person who wants people to come over and she wants to make it nice and all of that stuff. But when that's actually happening and there's a show happening in your home and you're responsible for sort of giving everybody an experience, I think that's a lot of pressure. But I don't know. I just will always have a soft spot in my heart for Dorinda, always.
Yeah.
And,
what was it like for you seeing Jill Zarin back on your screen?
I'm not going to lie. I found her, I didn't see it was a big ad to me.
Okay. And
I love Jill Zarin, and I've always loved Jill Zarin, but I just felt like she seemed a little muted.
How about Phaedra?
Love.
Yeah.
Love.
Tamra and Vicky back together again.
The Vicky and Tamra show to me, that little room.
Yes.
I mean, Vicky needing that the Heimlich, whatever.
The Heimlich. I mean, the pill came flying out.
The pill came flying out, but Vicky's whole. I would just like to play Vicky. I just want to play Vicky. Yeah. Vicky is a very fascinating person to me. Also, I felt horrible about. Also, I was very worried the whole time about her COVID status. Quite frankly,
yes.
I know she tested negative, and I was like, this woman is not well. But I was in it. I was in it to win it for all of them. I really was.
That's funny. The Heimlich moment where the pill comes flying out, and I think it was Brandy who walked into the room and was like, what is going on in here? And,
totally.
Brandy was someone who had an interesting arc on that show as well, I thought. She came in as she does hot. She gets drunk. She's calling everyone bitches. And by episode 4, you're like, oh, wait, she's made it okay with most of the people in the house. And you start to...
Yeah, I think Brandy is just Brandy, and I love it. There's something I think that's a real recipe for success on these shows, which is people who are really able to be themselves with all of the sort of hideous warts and all, and the gorgeous parts too. And she's just never really been afraid of that, and I find it really refreshing in a way.
Do you what was the word? What was I going to ask you about Brandy? I can't remember. Do you want to see Brandy back on Beverly Hills?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
That's interesting.
I've heard some weird rumors about things, and like, I'm not going to ask you publicly because I don't want to put you on the spot, but I have like, desperate questions about a couple things involving a couple cast members.
Okay. Anyone that you think that you want to publicly tell me, like, that you are ready to see the end of? Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Honestly,
Okay.
no. I want New York back. I've had enough of my New York pause, whatever.
Okay.
I feel like I'm on pause with,
Yes.
New York, and I'm not down with it. I'm ready for New York.
It's been 10 years since you got your first Emmy nomination for, and that was for playing Nicole Wallace on Game Change. And it really just makes me think about all of the wonderful work you've done inhabiting these women. And you just said that Vicky is someone that you would like to play. Who else, and as we were talking about Erica, I was like, she's someone that I bet if Sarah played her, she could bring some real humanity to. What, is there anyone else in the universe that you would like to take a whack at that you think is layered in that way that you might be able to bring something to their portrayal that people don't think about?
I mean, God, that's a very good question. I mean, what's so funny is that, like, it never would have occurred to me to play Marcia Clark. It never would have occurred to me to play Nicole Wallace. It never would have occurred to me to play Linda Tripp. So
yes.
I think it's probably better off just waiting and seeing what people decide they'd like to see me do. I'd like to play Hedda Gabler on stage is what I'd like to do.
When you were in Feud in 2017,
yes.
Remind me, you played...
I played Geraldine Page, but it was one...
It was small. I get it.
Little pop, and it was just another opportunity. I said yes because when Ryan asks, you like to say yes.
Right.
And it was one scene with Jessica, but of course it was on the phone and she wasn't even there. So it was one of those things.
Yes, right.
But I'm so glad I did it.
And clearly he has an ability to see something in you where he can say, oh, Linda Tripp? Oh, it's Sarah Paulson, obviously. I mean, that's a leap. Right. I mean,
correct.
Yeah.
I think that's a leap. Yeah. Although I think, and I've said this before, but I think the truth is I have more alignment with her inside of myself than probably most people would care to hear about or admit in terms of some of what I think motivates her. But yeah, he has this wild, and I think not just with me, but with a lot of people, he's a real casting wizard. And I think what he does is he gets the essence of you. He knows me well enough to know that the Linda Tripp Sarah Paulson crossover is not as far apart as you might imagine. Right. So, it's a sort of risk that he feels he could take, I guess.
Okay, so you're nominated for lead actress in a limited series or movie.
Yeah.
Okay, you're up against Toni Collette. All right, that's Julia Garner.
Yeah, great.
Lily James. Okay, great. This is a tough category, but I still think you're going to get it. Margaret Qualley and Amanda Seyfried.
Wonderful.
Okay, I mean, she's not going to get it. Margaret Qualley, she's not going to get it.
I don't know.
I think, people did love Lily James and Pam and Tommy.
Yeah, they did, and she was wonderful.
I don't know if Pam Anderson is Emmy material. So I think it's between you and Toni and Julia. Okay? And I think you're going to get it.
Listen, from your lips to those little Emmy voters.
How many, is there anything negative that you want to say about Toni or Julia just to get Emmy voters, thinking, well, Julia Garner, I mean, she's great, but,
she's so young.
She's got that misdemeanor.
She's got that. Julia Garner's about to play Madonna. She's a huge star. She's got a lot going on.
Right.
I am aging out. I think it's important to just kind of throw me a bone just to keep my career going. To support the activity of people over 35. That's the one thing I'll say.
Okay,
yeah.
I respect that. Okay, good. This is good. That's kind of what I was looking for. How many Emmys do you have?
I only have one, but this is my 8th nomination.
Wow. Mm-hmm. 8th nomination. That's amazing.
It's wild.
You're incredible.
It's very nice of you, Andy.
Do you still have a place in New York?
I don't.
You don't. Did you ever?
I did.
Oh,
I
you
used to
did.
live
Okay, I
in
thought so.
London.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
And Holland doesn't have a place in New York?
Holland does have a place
Oh, okay.
there.
Well, then you kind of do.
Yeah, I kind of have a
Yeah,
place there,
right.
but it's not mine.
Right. No, I get it. Well, Sarah, I love kibitzing with you. Of course, you can watch Impeachment, American Crime Story. It's streaming, and you can watch Sarah on the Emmys. We all can't wait to see you. And this is a well-deserved nomination. You were so wonderful as Linda Tripp. I've been carrying on about your performance to anyone who would listen. And of course, no one's opinion on performances means more than mine. Yes, exactly. Thanks, Sarah. Great to hang with you. We're going to be back with John's News. Bye, Sarah. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Mwah.
A, C will be our B.
Message.